Hello friends, this is Youheum. Thanks for joining me. So today I will share my thoughts and feelings on the definition of extreme minimalism, and I will also cover the common questions that will hopefully shed light on how to do it. I've been practicing minimalism for close to 6 years, and now I'm an extreme minimalist practicing furniture-free living. And right now I am traveling overseas for 4 months, but I'm originally based in Austin, Texas. So you can feel free to check out my capsule wardrobe tour and my Austin apartment tour if you want. Also, my intention in sharing this today is to simply create an open, non-violent, and compassionate space for productive discussion and learning. So I'm not here to force anyone that my kind of practice is the best and that everyone should be this way. I'm simply here to share and to learn from what others are unfolding as well. So in my definition, based on my own cultural background, experience, feelings, and mindset, I believe that both minimalism and extreme minimalism is the practice of conscious limitation that leads to abundance and prosperity in other areas of life. I believe that we as human beings are inherently both maximal and minimal in different areas of life. So even for me as an extreme minimalist, I do not deny the presence of my maximal desires. And there are times where I want to accumulate, there are times where I want to consume things. And I think this is natural because there is no permanent state of being just minimal in life. When my attention is on living a minimal lifestyle, then I also have to give equal attention on being abundant and somewhat maximal in other areas, meaning that minimalism comes with other practices that satisfy my need for healthy consumption. And I consume healthy things by traveling and by building relationships and connecting with loved ones, also challenging myself through creative projects. And I also love to nourish my inner self through spiritual practices. What I choose to let go and minimize is purely dependent on my personal preference. So the level of commitment I have for conscious limitation is dependent on my own level of comfort. That's why I continue to believe that minimalism is purely subjective, and it's just that extreme minimalists, they tend to make use of limitation in a more obvious way. Also, be sure to share with me what's happening in your own life, and are you interested in minimalism? Are you interested in extreme minimalism? Maybe you were in the middle of your practice, or perhaps you were just curious but not interested in adopting this kind of lifestyle. So feel free to share with us in the comments below. I feel that even if I do somehow get addicted to decluttering or make a mistake while I am practicing extreme minimalism, I feel that that too is forgivable, and that too is a natural unfolding of this practice, because I feel that something as life-changing as minimalism always comes with the risk of making mistakes, always comes with the risk of feeling burnout, also comes with the risk of perhaps giving up in the midway. So I feel that it's not necessary to guilt trap myself or to shame myself for making such mistakes and for taking these risks, because it's all natural and these things are always a learning curve, and it's a process that's necessary for me to grow and for me to manifest greater wisdom. And I'm aware that extreme minimalism can be perceived as a form of addictive decluttering from a place of obsession and wanting of inner validation through compulsive organizing. And to be honest, I also had this assumption before I was diving in deep, but now that I've actually lived and breathed the practice itself on a daily basis for several years, I no longer believe that extreme minimalism is always a form of minimalism that has gone wrong. And for me, this practice is not about doing it without error, doing it with perfection. My practice is about mindful learning, and it's about forgiving myself through the unfolding and adjusting accordingly to my own comfort level. I believe that extreme is a temporary phase in life that's followed by moderation and humbleness, and discomfort eventually becomes comfort when it is given proper time to transition and to be adjusted. So I feel that extreme minimalism is only extreme before it is absorbed into everyday life, and before it is understood, and before it is recognized by the majority. And because of the emergence of minimalism, and more so extreme minimalism as an everyday life practice, is fairly new, and it's just an up-and-coming trend nowadays, I feel that it can always trigger awe, and it can always become very shocking at first. But I feel that in the future, it will be something that can be explored by anyone who chooses to do so. It's true that I was able to manifest a more grounded, peaceful, and calm lifestyle after adopting an extreme minimalist lifestyle. And this is important for me as a highly sensitive person and HSP, because I have sensitivity to external stimulation, to loud noises, and also to visual clutter. And I also deal with anxiety symptoms as well. So it's important for me that I use this practice and other practices like mindfulness and wellness to find a more controlled environment, a place where I can feel safe, supported, and nourished. And in the beginning, my main goal was to eliminate and destroy all the things that caused me stress, that made me an undesirable person, because I was anxious and I was shameful and guilty about this. But I feel that years into this practice and into other forms of practices like mindfulness, I was able to understand that it's not really about eliminating or hiding or suppressing a part of myself that's natural, the negative traits. What's important at this moment in my practice is to embrace this part of myself and to let go of the need to hide a part of myself. So meaning that I surrender, I forgive, and I let go by saying that I love myself no matter what. I love and appreciate myself, even though I have anxiety, even though I struggle with HSP traits, and even though there are times where I cannot let go, and there are times where I cannot surrender. I feel that this all depends on the supportive practice that's outside of minimalism. So minimalism allows me to clear out the space, it allows me to clear out the time, and it allows me to have more financial freedom, and it allows me to have more energy. So now it's time for me to find what really brings me joy with all the resources that I have. So minimalism is not the ultimate destination where happiness is found. In my personal experience, minimalism helps me find what brings me joy, and it's the stepping stone to getting what I want, and it's not the ultimate solution for happiness. I know that for a lot of us, including myself, living in the modern era, it is inevitable to lean on the comfort of using companies like Google, who owns YouTube, the very platform we are on, also using companies like Amazon and Walmart and Apple as well. And because I focus on compassion and forgiveness, it's important for me not to punish people, to criticize people, to judge people for using these companies once in a while, or maybe often as well. I think it's important for me not to guilt trap anyone, or to project my passive aggression, or to project my suppressed anger or frustration onto other people just because I cannot control them or to force them into submission not to support certain brands and companies. So for me, instead of choosing the path of hatred and having the hatred in my heart, I choose to simply focus on supporting sustainable, ethical, small companies as much as possible, and also talking about sustainability in a more realistic way instead of trying to force everyone to be sustainable and ethical in one go. I think it's important for me to not really focus on the surface level problems of these companies, of these corporations that we like to hate. I think it's important for me to go dive even deeper into the core of the problem that we want to solve by openly discussing why we are so disconnected from each other, why we always are looking for someone to blame, why we choose to give away power instead of making small changes ourselves. So I feel like it's important to apply understanding, apply empathy, also to apply compassion and forgiveness when it comes to topics that are so important to us. So instead of destroying the system and preventing other people from somehow contributing to the toxic system, I feel that it's important to work together to find what works for all of us, including the rich people that we hate, the corporations that we hate, and figuring out what humanity as a whole needs, and figuring out what can heal us instead of trying to spend so much energy on hating each other. I feel grateful to receive such an interesting question because I know it's weird for people to see minimalist with the trendiest gear, with the high quality things in their life. And it's weird to see a person living in a nice apartment or a nice house when they own nothing and when they don't need that much space in order to store their possessions. I completely understand how weird that can be. For me, minimalism heavily focuses on refinement, so cutting down on the unnecessary so that the necessary becomes refined and polished, so that I can choose to spend the same amount of money that other people spend on many things. I choose to spend that same money on buying one high quality, long lasting, and sustainable product. And having these luxuries doesn't necessarily mean that I'm wealthy or that I'm rich. It just means that I value financial freedom. It just means that I am able to afford things within my own budget and capabilities. I feel that my approach with extreme minimalism and my other practices like mindfulness, sustainability, and wellness, I always approach it by making the practice work for me, and I don't fit myself into the practice. So this means that whatever I choose to do in life, it can be an expression of extreme minimalism. I can choose to have hobbies, I can choose to have possessions that I don't necessarily need for survival. I can choose to have a car, I can choose to buy a house even as an extreme minimalist. And of course, I can choose to invite a partner or significant other into my life if that really matters to me at some point. And the only thing that's required of me when that time comes is for me to be mindful of that person's needs as well as my own needs. So we have to figure it out together what we can do for each other, and we have to clearly state our own needs, wants in a non-violent way so that we can respect each other's boundaries and respect each other's practice. I definitely believe that owning things is completely okay. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I feel like minimalism is about being maximal in some areas and being minimal in some areas. So that balance is what's important. And I also feel that what I mentioned before applies here as well, that the practice works for the practitioner and not the other way around. So I feel that it's good to freely accumulate and buy whatever is necessary to feel happy, to feel content, to feel joyful. I hope that I was useful in some way in shedding light on the common topics and questions that we discuss within the community. And I also want to extend my gratitude, my appreciation for those inside the community and outside the community for practicing mindful learning, for being open-minded, for being compassionate, and for being open about learning new things. And I feel that this is such an important thing for all of us. And if you want any additional support from me, I'm here to offer one-on-one email coaching, and I'll also offer my minimalist workbook for anyone interested. So feel free to support yourself through those resources. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for being here, my friends, and I hope to see you again soon.